Security camera operators of Reddit, what is the weirdest thing you caught someone doing? I didn't catch him in the act, but I watched a guy steal my pizza. I was working the night shift on a Friday night and ordered pizza for my lunch. I had leftovers which I put in the staff room fridge so I could have it for lunch the next day. Saturday evening I come into work. I work until lunchtime, then go to grab my pizza only to discover that it is gone. WTF. So I check the camera feed. During the day some random guy came into our office, went to the staff room, and stole my pizza. He just walked out of the building carrying the pizza box and the day shift guy didn't even notice. I worked IT at a company that had cameras on the shop floor. The boss called me in to watch a video and get my opinion on what I thought was going on. So the night shift had one lady working and 6 guys. When things slowed down in the middle of the night she would walk over to one of the guys, whisper in his ear, and they would both go into the girl's bathroom together. 5 minutes later she would come out adjusting her skirt and the guy would follow with a huge smile on his face. Over several hours she did this with each of the 6 guys and it appeared it was a regular thing. I said it looked like she was fricking everyone in the place. Lol. Well, the boss fired her for fear that it would lead to a sexual harassment lawsuit. Later I found out what was really going on. Seems she was the local weed dealer and hid her stash in her panties. Lol. Which one would you rather it have been, because IDK which one is worse? Saw a guy once get out of our pool. He dries off and is carrying his pool noodle. He does the look around, sees he's alone, then starts smacking it against the floor. He folded it in half and then starts punching it. He then twists it and tries to punt it. It untwists and flops to the ground so he missed. He goes to pick it up, doesn't get a good grip, stands up and it's not in his hand. Picks it up, tries to punt it again, flops to the floor as he missed again. Then he picks it up and just hurls it into the pool. He stands there for a second, has a look of defeat, goes back into the pool, fishes it out, dries off and proceeds towards the locker room. For a minute I thought pool noodle was slang for penis. He goes to pick it up. I was confused. When I worked security and was watching cameras I'd see so much butt grabbing. I mean everyone from older couples to teenagers. I had no idea people grabbed butt so much. I'm grabbing your butt right now and you're not even noticing it. Work in IT. Had to splice a video from our CCTV into our CEO's end of year presentation. The company had refurbished the car park, which used to have an all-access footpath running through it. There was no legal right-of-way there, so they got rid of the footpath and put up signs saying it was private property, etc. This didn't stop a middle-aged lady who cycled through every day and regularly damaged parked cars with her bike when she squeezed through narrow gaps. The alternative route was literally 50 yards out of her way to go around the car park rather than through it. So, bigger signs go up. This is private land, no access, etc. As part of that, they install an automatic barrier. To get into or out of the car park, you have to beep your company ID badge on a sensor. The barrier raises, and you can drive through. Cyclist lady just ignores everything, cycles up to the new barrier, and wham, her bike goes under it, and she doesn't. She gets up, walks up to her bike and cycles off again, up the road. The next day, they're investigating damage to the barrier and have a look at the CCTV. They can't believe she hasn't seen the bright red and white barrier. While they're reviewing the CCTV, she comes in again from the other direction, and wham, exactly the same thing happens again. They run out to check she's okay. She refuses all help and runs away with her bike. She knows she's not supposed to be going through here and has now made the same mistake twice. She now goes around the car park instead of through it. Lol. WTF. I worked in a supermarket, not as security but well, one day stocking shelves my manager and I noticed a strange smell. We couldn't find the source so kept working. A couple of hours later and it was still hanging around. Eventually we emptied the last trolley of stock which had been sitting in an aisle for a while. Small supermarket, and we found a blob of human poop on a box of cat food, and then 2 or 3 more on the shelves next to the trolley. We checked the cameras and there was a seemingly normal 50-something-year-old lady, walked in, put a few things in her basket, then started walking waddling oddly down the pet food aisle and then all of a sudden just casually reached into the back of her pants, pulled some pulp out, chucked it on the stock trolley, walked another few paces and did the same. Then from memory she even proceeded through the checkout and out of the store. The manager asked me to clean it up, to which I offered my immediate resignation. As a joke, he was my mate but there was no way I was dealing with that. So he had to clean it up and we ended up throwing out a lot of stock and most of the fruit and veg stock. I've told so many people this story. I still find it so bizarre to this day. My friend worked at a hardware store and they watched as this lady came and sat on the chairs in front of them and then just crap herself and sat there until someone came and took her back to her retirement home. My friend said it was a stack of white wicker chairs and the crap had weaved its way through the cracks. A guy dropped his pants, pressed his ass to the wall and promptly started crapping whilst crab walking along the wall. Oh, Jesus. I intentionally do weird stuff in front of security cameras. Give the security person something to look at. I do the Jim Halpert look at every security camera I see. I worked at a hospital and one of the security guards got caught zooming in on some granny who was undressing in the air. This is the weirdest thing we caught a security camera operator doing, lol. Worked as an assistant manager for a grocery retailer. Store is closing and few employees left. I'm finishing paperwork and happen to look up at the monitor displaying 16 different cameras. The one in the deli caught my eye because I happened to notice the deli employee filling a sink. Didn't think anything of it and kept on going with my work. Looked at the time and was thinking, okay, everyone should be out. Look through the cameras and see the girl in the deli, bathing in the sink. Dread comes over me. Frick, what do? I wait until she's done. Burn the video, sterilize the sink, bleach the sink, pour boiling water over the sink, and scrub it until my hands hurt. Then leave the store in night crew's hands. Next morning, speak with the store manager and show him the video. Pull the girl upstairs and let her go for violating all sorts of health and safety violations. Turns out, her water was turned off and she needed to bathe for her date with her parole officer the next morning. Things people do when they think others aren't watching. It's kind of sad, actually, but yeah, she kinda broke 10,000 safety and health norms. I worked at a thrift store. We had a furniture storage semi-trailer out back where people would also drop off donations during the day. It was so common for people to break into the trailer we just stopped locking it. It's a thrift store and we never prosecuted because frankly it just wasn't worth it. One day me and a couple of guys decided if they want to violate our property we'll make it a bit more enjoyable for them. We rigged up a bucket of water on top of the semi-door tied so it would fall when the door was opened. Then we also had a big dumpster there that was regularly looked through, so we put a couch up against the dumpster positioned in a way that there was only one obvious place to put your hands when you climbed up the dumpster. We put grease there. I have a video somewhere and if you'll wanna see it I can try to find it. For us working at the thrift store and never getting revenge on the countless thieves, it was an enjoyable experience to watch their plans fall apart for at least one night. I have a video somewhere and if you'll wanna see it I can try to find it. Yes. I saw a man fight a camel. That one was pretty fun. We don't talk about one hump club. Employee got caught giving her co-worker a handy in the trash compactor room. Didn't want to see it, was shown anyway. She stops in the middle to restart the compactor then goes right back to it. A couple of things coming to mind right now. Someone running into a subway tunnel, taking a leak against the wall, then running back out with seconds to spare before a train came bailing through. A guy blatantly stealing cosmetics or perfume from a Victoria's Secret. I used to monitor cameras for a very high-end car dealership. One day while checking the connection, test 3x daily, only really look when an alarm goes off after hours, I managed to catch a man dry humping a Bugatti Veyron and subsequently being dragged away by their security guard. Saw some lady pull up to the back door at my work in the middle of the night to squat down in the snow and pee while it was blizzarding. A security guard once showed my department a guy dry humping his GF. I worked at a car dismantler and people would break in and steal catalytic converters, radiators and other valuables. I noticed a pattern of break-ins on wed mornings about 4 AM. So, one day I decided to catch the perp. I locked myself into the office around midnight, called up the local PD and explained to them what I was doing. Sure enough, around 3:30 am I noticed some movement by one of the fences. I watched him cut a hole in the fence and start to wander around. He started to stash things by the hole. I called the cops and told them what was going on, but asked them to hold off on arresting him until he was outside the fence. I watched as 5 cars pulled up in the parking lot next door. The perp pushed the stuff through the fence and I told the dispatcher, okay, now get him. Dispatcher was on the phone with me since I called it in. They caught him and arrested him. The reason I wanted to wait till he was outside is that it was then burglary and trespassing. If they had arrested him inside, it would only be trespassing because he hadn't left the premises with the parts. I later got a letter of commendation from the chief of police. Not me, but my friend. He always Snapchats the crazy stuff he sees at the shopping mall he monitors. Once he posted 2 guys hula hooping in the middle of the night. Honestly, if I were to look up and see that on the security camera, that would be so unsettling for some reason. I only watched the cameras on night shift once, but it was 4 am and on one of the cameras located at the beach, I watched a frazzled middle-aged lady in her nightgown hobble around with a fat cat in her arms for an hour. I thought she was sleepwalking or something, so I was gonna to call a guard down to check on her, but I think she went home clutching that cat. I used to work in loss prevention at a very large retail store. I had been finding wrappers and discarded packages in a place called the fixture room. This is where they keep all the peg hooks, shelves, and racks to display products. Not many people go in there, so I put up a hidden camera thinking I would catch someone stealing stuff. Around 1 am a guy walks in, pulls his pants down and rubs one out all over a shelf leaning against the wall. I show the video to the store manager and he said that the guy was his third shift supervisor. As he watches the video, he starts getting mad at me for showing it to him. I take it to my boss and he tells the store manager to fire the guy. 2 weeks later, I come in early one morning to see the guy clocking out. I asked the store manager why he didn't fire him and he said, I talked to him about it and he explained what happened. I said, okay, I gotta hear this one. The manager explained. He had been drinking and smoking weed before he came to work and was just out of his mind. So he's not a pervert or anything. The manager then told me that as punishment the guy had to clean everything in the fixture room on his own time, unpaid, and had to submit to 4 random drug tests the next year, which never happened because the manager is a cheap butt. The guy got promoted to assistant manager a year later. Installed cameras on my house and found out that our border collie hears us when we call her name, but sometimes just pretends she cannot. Watching her on the backyard cam, she is laying out, enjoying the sun. Call her name, she lifts her head up, tail wags, head falls back down, big exhale, 0 fricks given, not even mad. I tried to find the footage I had of this, but apparently I waited too long and it was overwritten. Damn it. Not a security camera operator, but with where I sit in an office, I can see hear everything, but no one can see hear me, off in a corner. To add to it, I am the only one on second shift in my office and there is a plant, manufacturing, on one side and the nice bathroom on the other. Because I'm the only one, the lights go out often, but I have a lamp so I just let them go out. Usually I hear people mumble or whatever to themselves as they head to the bathroom. The worst is that so many people just let one rip as they walk through, like they just think it's an empty office they are cutting through, and then I need to bite my tongue to keep from laughing because it is just freaking hilarious. A middle-aged man who always walked with a cane got into an elevator at the end of the day. Fairly big elevators. The guy was always nice but pretty unassuming. After he got in, he leaned the cane against the rail and started to practice what looked like, and I later checked with a friend, a taekwondo form. When he heard the elevator ding at a floor to stop, he grabbed the cane and went back to his demeanor. The guy worked in a dangerous professor and makes himself seem weak. I'd be terrified to frick with that guy. I hang out with our security guard a lot and spend time in their office at our hotel shooting the crap with them. There's footage saved that they show to our new hire guards to see if they can handle things professionally. In this video, a guy takes his street H, $100 Australian an hour one, super dirty and cheap, and takes her into an alibi function room where we had a camera. They get to it, and he straight away pulls down her pants and starts to eat her butthole. This goes on for 5 minutes or so, until you see the door open behind them, and our huge Polynesian guard standing behind the guy. The lady runs off laughing instantly, leaving her poor client to put on his pants and clean up by himself. One time at work I went to the Starbucks down the street and got a delicious panini. I was so excited for this panini. Double smoked bacon and chicken. Delish. I was working the closing shift, so I was tired and just wanted to eat my panini. I pulled the little paper bag out, and what I assume was the heat from the food had melted the adhesive holding the bag together, and my delicious panini is now all over the break room floor. Immediately my soul crushes. Then right afterward, I'm like, frick this crap, and picked it right back up and ate it. It was delicious. A few weeks later my co-workers are chatting away and whatever. One of them offhandedly mentions that our GM watches all the security cam footage on the days she isn't at work. She wasn't at work that day. My panini exploded everywhere. She probably saw me eating that crap off the ground like a savage. So to answer the question at hand, that 5-second rule. Bro, people are too worried about germs anyways. I saw these two businessmen walking next to a koi pond, and as one of them fell in, the other kinda leaned out of the way instead of saving him. Feel bad for the dude that fell in, but it was odd seeing him falling in BC like no one does it. I heard the guy smashed one of the koi fish when he fell in the pond, too. I hope there is video of this. Leaving the hospital after a 12-hour shift, I decided to take the stairs down to the lobby rather than wait for the elevator. Caught my heel on the edge of a stair and toppled down like a scorpion. Security must have enjoyed that one. Awful scorpion. Not me, but my girlfriend. She works as a security guard at an old mall that sadly only has about 4 business still inside. Well, one day she texts me while at work and tells me there is a group of teenagers riding their bikes throughout the mall. A few minutes later I get a video of the security cameras, and sure enough there is a group of kids riding BMX bikes inside the mall. I work at a pub, and the weirdest thing I've ever seen on our cameras was a homeless guy breaking in. The front door wasn't locked properly, so he just walked into the bar, helped himself to a bottle of Jimmy, sat up in the bistro area to drink it, and passed out under a table. The poor cleaner got a fright in the morning when she bumped his leg with the vacuum. He had a hole open bar but was happy just settling for his bottle of Jim Beam. I watched my butthole of a boss slip, fall, and then slide down a muddy hill outside the office. I saved the clip. That warms my heart. I'm the security supervisor overnight at a food dye processing plant. I sit in a guard shack and watch upwards of 20 camera feeds at a time. One night, one of my officers, who is posted up at the other side of the facility, walks away from his shack and goes to an area behind one of the buildings, out of the way. He apparently thought there weren't any cameras watching that particular area, because he wasn't there for a minute before some lady arrived and they started having sex. Right there. When they were done, she left and he went right back to his post. He had no idea I saw the whole thing. I didn't talk to him about it, but I called my operations manager over in the office the next morning and told him about it. The officer wasn't fired. He was transferred, however. Bulls. In my opinion, when an officer can be fired for being late, they should be fired for abandoning their post to meet with a lady of the night. Lady of the night, you make it sound so mysterious. I think the weirdest direct thing was seeing people lick their phones to get any traces of sea-misk white powder drug off them. Best things have been catching CCTV of a cat eating a mouse, a random hedgehog roaming around, a fox doing fox stuff, and a lot of spiders that build random webs over the cameras and set off the motion alert. I was managing a fast food restaurant at a rest stop on the highway. I had access to all of the cameras, inside and out, including one pointed right at the exit to enter back onto the highway. This guy was trying to merge back onto the highway in the middle of rush hour. He had been sitting there so long, waiting for someone to let him in, that he just pulled out a little hand puppet and started yelling at traffic with it. Many stories about this, but most amusing one. Pasta factory, little person Italian mechanic, big mustache, overalls. Late at night is walking by one of the packaging stations. One of the big Italian women working in the plant gets his attention. He's talking to her. No sound, but you can see he's occupied. Another of the women sneaks up behind him with a giant box. Kind you crap huge quantities of bow ties to the Olive Garden in. She drops it down over him, then puts her 8 on top. You can see he's struggling inside the box. You can see the sides moving and all the other women are around the box pointing at it and doubled over in laughter. Eventually they let him go. Box flies off and dude is super P. He starts running up to the women and jumping and trying to slap them in the face. And no crap. Dude looked like Super Mario jumping up to smash the bricks and get a mushroom. That's cruel to do to a child. To an adult that's just freaked up, unless it's in a one-on-one prank war or something. Some dude punched a beehive behind our building and then fought the bees throwing punches for about 20 minutes before he ran off. Not me but a co-worker who caught the guy by watching the cameras. I worked at the gas station that accompanied a large chain grocery store in the Midwest. There had been multiple instances of poo ending up in aisles over the past week. As far as I know, dogs were not allowed in the store. Co-worker starts checking the feeds and discovers an elderly man is coming into the store, turning into the brown bomber and crapping himself, then shaking the payload out the bottom of his pant leg. He was quickly apprehended never to grace the tiles with his crap again. A couple days ago I watched a guy get attacked by a goose in the parking lot. I'd say that goose won the fight. Used to work security for a mall back in Kansas City. That city was chock full of geese when it wasn't winter. You can see like a whole group of them off the side of the road grazing and pooping all over the sidewalks. Anyways, one day one of the store clerks called me up and told me to get animal control to dispose of a dead goose in our parking lot. I went to the front to check it out and sure enough there was a dead goose laying in the middle of the parking lot. Called animal control and they had it removed from the premises. Out of curiosity, I went into the back and started viewing the cameras for the parking lot thinking the goose may have just died of sickness or somebody accidentally ran him over with their car. Nope. Apparently this particular goose wandered onto the parking lot and started terrorizing anyone that got near him. If you've encountered a goose before, you would know how much a mean bastard those things are. Everybody that came out of the store basically had to walk around the goose to get to their car, except for one guy. This dude, wearing a striped sweater and khakis, holding a bag in one hand and his other hand in his pocket, started walking straight to his car. He literally gave zero fricks that the goose was flapping his wings and honking at him, telling him to pee off. The guy was about 4 feet from the goose when the goose started charging him trying to frick him up. The guy just took his hand out of his pocket, grabbed the goose by the neck, snapped it, dropped the body in the middle of the parking lot and proceeded to get into his car and drive off. I don't know why, but the way he just nonchalantly snapped a goose's neck with his bare hand and left its body for dead sent a chill down my spine. Walmart. Projectile pooping on a potato chip display next to self-checkout. I threw every last bag away in THR compactor. A CSM tried to get me in trouble but the seller at management just laughed and told me good job. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.